Did you ever wonder if some women are unknowingly trapped in a fantasy they created about you? What if everything you believed about attraction and love is a carefully crafted illusion? Most men don't know this, but Carl Jung uncovered something terrifying about women's perceptions of men that could change the way you view every relationship, and it might cost you more than you realize. Stay with me, because this insight could be the key to understanding yourself and saving yourself from a lifetime of confusion. You've been there before. She looks at you intensely, deeply, almost as if she's seeing something more than just your face, more than just your personality. But what if that look isn't really about you at all? Most men believe they are the object of affection, the one being chosen. But Carl Jung, the legendary psychologist, discovered something terrifying about women that shatters this illusion. Jung believed that many women don't fall in love with the real man in front of them. They fall in love with the fantasy of the man they've projected onto him. Imagine being seen not for who you truly are, but for who someone else imagines you could become. You might think it's love, but what if it's not? What if the love they offer is a mask and illusion you can never live up to? Jung called this process projection, and he believed it operates on a deeper, unconscious level. But the scariest part, most women aren't even aware they're doing it. Let's break it down. She might be choosing you, or at least, she thinks she is. But here's the catch. What she's really doing is choosing the version of you that lives in her mind. It's a role. It's a script, and you're the actor. But here's the thing, if you ever stop playing the part to perfection, you're out. The script doesn't change. The actor does. When Jung discovered this, it wasn't just some philosophical musing. It was a fundamental truth about human relationships. Women, he argued, fall in love with an idea about who you could be, who you should be. And when you stop being that man, when you become too real, too vulnerable, things get ugly. Jung called this projection of the ideal man the animus, the inner masculine image that exists within every woman. But here's the catch. When the animus is immature, undeveloped, or unchecked, it can become a tyrant. It can turn love into an impossible standard. You might think that you can fulfill her expectations. You might try changing, molding, adjusting yourself to fit the fantasy. But what happens when the fantasy doesn't line up with reality? It's simple, really. When you stop fitting the script, the fantasy will collapse. But it's not you who will be blamed. It's not the projection that gets questioned. The projection is untouchable, idealized. And you're simply replaced by the next actor who seems to fit the part. This isn't just a trivial thing. It's the core of a cycle that traps men and women in relationships that are based not on real love, but on illusion. And here's the kicker. When the fantasy inevitably shatters, both people are left feeling confused, betrayed, and hollow. Because, deep down, they never knew each other at all. So, what can you do about this? It starts with a brutal, uncomfortable truth. The only way out of this cycle is to confront it head-on. But here's the catch. It's not about her. It's about you. It's about breaking free from the illusion, the projections, and facing your own reality. Jung's solution was clear. Individuation. It's the process of becoming whole, of knowing yourself fully, and that's where most men fall short. Because individuation isn't easy, it's uncomfortable. It's lonely. It's confronting the parts of yourself you've hidden for years. Most men will spend their entire lives chasing approval, seeking validation from the very women who project their fantasies onto them. But what if this cycle is the very thing keeping you from true connection? You've been taught that love means being chosen, that your worth is defined by being seen as desirable. But Jung would argue that this is the great deception. You don't become a man by being chosen, you become a man by choosing yourself. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Men who chase approval, who mold themselves to fit someone else's needs, end up losing themselves in the process. You might think you're doing it for love, but in reality, you're sacrificing your identity for validation. And it's a trap. Jung's insight was groundbreaking. the moment you stop performing for someone else. When you stop seeking approval and validation, you stop being a puppet in someone else's play. You become the author of your own life. Now, think about that for a moment. What if you stopped chasing validation? What if you stopped performing? What if you embraced the loneliness that comes with individuation and began to walk your own path, unapologetically? This is where real freedom comes from. This is where true strength lies. It's the ability to stand alone, to be fully awake to your own needs, desires, and truths. It's not about being chosen anymore. It's about choosing yourself. And as paradoxical as it sounds, the moment you stop performing, you will start to attract something real. Women who are drawn to the truth of who you are, not to the fantasy you've been playing at. And when that happens, the dynamic changes. You're no longer the object of projection. You're a partner in a relationship built on authenticity. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to walk through life with no need to perform, no need to mold yourself into someone you're not. What if you could stand in front of women and the world without fear, without the need for approval, simply being yourself? This is the essence of becoming a man, and it's not just some lofty goal or a far-off dream. It's a reality that can be achieved, but only if you are brave enough to face the truth of who you are. You stop attracting women who want the role. You stop attracting people who need you to perform. Instead, you attract those who are seeking the real, raw, unfiltered youth, the person who doesn't need to hide behind masks, behind performances, or behind fantasies. Jung warned that this level of freedom isn't for the faint of heart. It requires you to shed every false layer you've built up. It requires you to face the parts of you that are broken, scared, and incomplete, and to integrate them into your identity. When you become this kind of man, the relationships around you change, too. It's no longer about chasing affection or approval. It's about meeting others, women included, on equal terms. No one needs to play a role, and no one needs to perform. Women who come into your life will see you for who you are. And here's the paradox. The less you chase validation, the more they are drawn to you. Not because you need them, but because you've reached a point where you don't. And it's not about becoming cold or distant. It's about becoming real. A man who stands in his own truth, who doesn't need anyone to complete him, is the most attractive force there is. Women sense this. They may not understand why, but they feel it. Here's the kicker. It's only when you stop needing someone else to fill your gaps, when you stop needing someone else to define your worth, that the real love you seek will come into your life. Not the illusion, not the fantasy, the truth. As you walk this path, there will be moments of doubt. There will be moments when you feel lonely. But remember, loneliness is not the same as emptiness. Loneliness is the space in which you begin to understand who you really are. This is the core of Jung's message, that we cannot grow unless we confront our own shadow. The parts of ourselves that we've hidden, that we've ignored, or that we've denied, they must be faced. Only then can we truly be whole. Until you face your shadow, you will continue to live as someone else's projection, and you will never feel truly loved, because no one can love a mask. They can only love the person behind it, the real you. Most men never get this far. They settle. They accept the illusion because it's easier than confronting their own fears. But those who choose to walk the path of individuation, who choose to confront their own truth, become something rare, something powerful. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. But you do have to choose yourself. And when you do, everything changes. You'll stop living for others' expectations. You'll stop being a character in someone else's story, and you'll start writing your own. So, let me leave you with one final thought. What if, instead of chasing someone else's love, you started by loving yourself first? What if, instead of being defined by the projection others have of you, you became the truth of who you are? What could that change for you? If you've made it this far, then you've already begun the journey. The rest is up to you. But remember, Individuation is a lifetime process. It's not easy. It's not glamorous. But it's the only path that leads to real freedom.